Shalom! My mom created a fun way for us to learn the most important rules of life. Yah's command.
With Yah's Big Ten Commands, we get to see His what's best for us.
Keep Yah first.
No graven images.
Don't take Yah's name in vain.
Remember Shabbat and keep it holy.
Honor your parents.
Do not kill.
Mr. and Mrs., don't cheat.
Don't steal.
Don't tell lies.
Don't covet.
This changes everything. Get your set of Yah's Big Ten Commands at Big Ten Designs today.
Just green, take me high to the heavenlies. Why don't I just walk away? Everyone needs a little space into the future. It's hard to bear. It's all consuming. Above all the world, the wind and seas, you reach for me and lead me to the hiding place. Come away and rest. Meditate, meditate, reset. Come away and rest. Meditate, meditate, reset. Come away and rest. Meditate, meditate, reset. Come away and rest. Present with the Most High is my relief. Showing your strength is perfect even when I'm weak. Your word sustains me. I can suffer long. Nothing can change me or take away my love of y'all. Into the future. It's hard to bear. It's all consuming.
So this is
that didn't vote for the bill. Now, mind you, first have a 3% majority
all
and
for
unfortunately
sale
those three columns. So that's
Israelites going to New York. Really excited going to New York. And I'm praising Yah for this opportunity to sign my books is like super cool. So.
God's people to get free. Why? Because John 8:32 says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Anybody in here who is telling you to reject the truth, they are not God. You gotta decide for yourself this day who you will serve.
How it's transformed, I can't even begin. I was watching Benaya. I seen you on there. The book. I got the book. I read the book. My mind was blown. Glory, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. It's time. I mean, it's time. The scriptures are alive. It is time. The book. I can't even. I just aspire to be where you're at. All of y'all out. Shout out to all of y'all. The book.
Family, I am so excited because this is the second time that the books are being replenished here at the Reading Room in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. And, just excited the impact that this book has made in the last year. All praises to the Most High because He is doing it. And let's continue to live by faith. Let's continue to be resilient. And let's continue to watch the Most High open all these doors. Why? Because this awakening cannot be stopped.
Consuming, but above the world, the wind and seas, you reach for me.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. I pray that y'all are doing well. Thank y'all so much for coming out today. All right. So today is February 7th. It is the 7th day of the month of February, Black History Month, as they would say. But 7 days since the 1-year anniversary started of Israelite, my book, How to Know Your Identity Without Losing Your Savior. And for those of you who have purchased your copy, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all for supporting. As you all know, we are doing a sale this week. Okay, and that sale is to give all of you who have not gotten your copy 25% off of your copy of Israelite in paperback or hardcover. That thing just going off too fast. Hey, paperback or hardcover. So if you have not taken advantage, today is Shabbat. So I totally understand those of you who do not want to spend any money on this day. I respect you. I am extending the sale to tomorrow for that reason. So shout out to those of you who have let me know in the comment section. You will be able to get your copy tomorrow, and it will officially end tomorrow evening. Okay. So for those of you who want to get your copy and want to do it tomorrow, that is perfectly fine. Thank y'all so much for those of you, as I said, who have already purchased your copy. And just let me know. Let me know when you read it, how you feel about it. Okay. Let me know, because I love to read your reviews. I love to read your emails when you send them to me and share. It's very encouraging. And it just lets me know that, all the things that Yahuwah has placed in my heart to do and the doors that He's opening, it's a confirmation. It really is a confirmation. And I'm grateful because, as you all read there, this book has opened up great dialogue among many, many peoples of high pedigree. And I'm very, very grateful for that, because it just tells me that Yahuwah is doing a new thing. And, you know, as we go through this video today that we're going to be watching, this is not a response video, but this is a reactionary video that I'm going to be sharing with you all concerning, of course, one of the most, I would say, well-known, not for any good reason, names in the world right now, Jeff Epstein. But it's helped me to understand how the changing of the guard really works. And I'll break that down a little bit to y'all later. But I've had to, over this last year, really rethink a lot of my thought patterns concerning how Yahuwah is waking his people up, right? Because the word says that he's waking up his people from the four corners of the earth. And he didn't say what position of job that they will hold or title that they will hold or lack thereof. He said he's waking up Judah and Jerusalem, right? And even the Gentiles themselves would come from the ends of the earth and say that they have inherited lies and things of no profit from their fathers. That's Jeremiah 16:19, interestingly enough. But we have to be sensitive to the leading of the Ruach HaKodesh. And that's our primary responsibility, is to be obedient to him and how he is restructuring governments, how he's restructuring politics, finances, and he's bringing out information like what we're going to watch today so that he can shift the perspective of his people, right? Some of you are in the awakening, but some people who will watch this video are not, and they have no idea how these structures really work and how these people really think. So for those of you all who are thinking that this is going to be a video about the list, this is not about the list, right? Because I did see some of the things about the list in the emails that were absolutely disturbing. And I know those of you who have seen it have been disturbed yourself and wanted to throw up in your mouth. But what we're going to be talking about today is not just this one symbolic figure. We're talking about how the elites, if you will, that run in his spaces, how they think about us, how they think about our people, whether that we are in the diaspora or we're on the continent. And y'all are going to get a chance to see it, because this is an incredible exposure of their mindsets. So before we get started, let me give a shout out to all of you. I want to thank all of you for being here. Sister Shetla, shout out to you. Shabbat Shalom. I hope that you're enjoying your day. Brother Timothy in the building, peace and blessings. And do me a favor, tell me if y'all can hear me well. I just want to make sure that everything is all good. I got my fan on. I know some of y'all are cold, but it hot overhead. Okay, so I needed my fan. So I hope y'all can hear me well in spite of my fan. Sister Rosalie Miller, shalom and blessings to you. Shalom and blessings. Jermaine Sloan, peace and blessings to you. Got Queen Adaya in the building. Peace and blessings as always. Rico Fry, Shabbat Shalom, peace and blessings to you. Brother Fast Nickel in the building. What's going on, my brother? Good to see you as always. Don P in the building. Elder Don P, peace and blessings to you as well. All right, we also have Todd Wilson in the building. Peace and blessings to you. Sister Priscilla Sharp, peace and blessings to you, or Mother Priscilla, as I would say. All right, we have, I think I covered everybody. Okay, and thank you, Sister Queen Adaya. The book Israelite is an awesome awakening into the truth. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, awesome that the sound is coming through good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this music real quick, because we are going to watch this video together. And I will, I will pause it at times so that, so that I can give my commentary. But the sister, she just did an amazing job. And this video was shared with me, and I'm just so grateful that it was, because I think this is the kind of stuff that we need to be privy to, right? It's a lot of stuff that is happening in this world, but we need to be privy to, how these people really think. You know what I'm saying? Do not be ignorant of the devil's devices. That's all I'm saying. Don't be ignorant of the devil's devices, okay? So let me go ahead and put the video on real quick. And let's see here. We good? Okay, so it's coming on.
Because they have the...
Okay, so I'm going to pause it real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Shout out to Pana Genius TV for putting together this video. This is the first video I've seen of her work, but she looks like she does very, very good research in journalism. And so I'm going to recommend her as a resource to definitely check out. So we're going to go ahead and start the video, and let's watch and see.
We know, for example, that if I was in the forest and I had to run from the lion or figure out a way not to be eaten, and my competition is a local African, I'm the one who's getting eaten because they have the intelligence to deal with their local environment. So it's just different. It's not better, it's not worse, but there's many differences amongst different types of people. And so people have different intelligences, and they excel in some intelligences usually, and less so in others.
My people, sorry to disappoint you, but today's episode is not about Jeffrey Epstein or his files. It's about what happens when powerful people forget that the camera is rolling. Because a video from one of his final interviews has resurfaced. Jeffrey Epstein sitting across from Steve Bannon, speaking openly, not scripted, not defensive, not careful, just talking, you know? And in that talking, something just as dangerous as his crimes is revealed. How the people closest to power actually think about Africa, how they think about Black intelligence, and how they justify who gets to run the world and who doesn't. This is not a conspiracy episode. This is not speculation. This is their own words. In this interview, Epstein casually uses Africa as a punchline for failure. He describes African leaders as generals, DJs, unserious people governing serious systems. He reduces Black intelligence to survival instincts, running from lions, while positioning Western intelligence as abstract, financial, and global. And the most dangerous part, he thinks he's being reasonable. He frames it as a nuance, as difference, as science. But what he's actually revealing is something much older and much darker too. A worldview that says that some people are meant to manage systems and others are meant to be managed by them.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right here before she gets into showing what Jeff Epstein said. The other day, I did a video about Tucker Carlson and his meeting that he had with the president of Zimbabwe. Do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat if you saw that video that I did. Now, one of the things that I noted about Tucker Carlson was the language and the tone that he used when speaking with the president, right, of this nation on the continent of Africa, and how he, spoke to him like he was a little child. What lesson did you learn, Johnny? Do you remember that part where I said that? Because a lot of these European colonizers, they really think, it's not even mockery. They wholeheartedly believe that we are to be managed as a people. They don't think that we have the intellectual capacity to be treated with respect to the degree in which they would consider the role of president of the United States. It's like when you hear president of the United States, somehow in their minds, they believe that that is the highest office of the land of the world. But when you hear president of Zimbabwe, it's sort of like, oh, maybe the, administrative assistant role. Not that role isn't important, but the pedigree gets pushed down. right? Because this is a Black man filling the shoes of this major role. And we don't believe that Black people are competent enough, right? And so, yeah, that's right. That's right, sis. The president shut him down. Shut him down. And the point, what we need to understand is that this has to change. We need to understand how they gaslight themselves and gaslight the world into believing that somehow they are the high IQ, they're the most intellectual, and anything that they do is par excellence, and anything that we do is subpar. So you're going to get a chance to hear exactly how Epstein speaks about our people, and it's really sad. But let's take a listen.
So today we're going to do something very simple and very necessary. We're going to roll the clips. We're going to pause, and we're going to break down what he said and what it exposes. Because if you've ever wondered why Africa is constantly treated as a problem to be solved, why Black leadership is questioned before it's even heard, why global systems seem designed around us, but never for us, this episode will make it very clear. This is the breakdown. My answer to that: if you've been trying to keep up with the constant stream of Africa headlines and still find yourself asking a basic question, okay, what does this all actually mean? And this report is for you. If you're an investor, it'll help you understand Africa as a real business and investment opportunity, clearly and strategically. If you're an entrepreneur, it'll highlight urgent, practical opportunities that you can engage with right now on the continent. If you're a policymaker, it offers grounded insight into what's working, what isn't, and where alignment is missing.
Now, I don't want to skip past that part because she put together the State of Africa 2026 address, and I'm actually going to see if I can grab a hold of that myself. And I wanted, for my audience, I wanted you all, yes, we hear you, Mr. Rooster. Okay, but for my audience, I wanted you all to get an opportunity to see what she is offering with her assessment. So I didn't want to skip past that part real quick because I think it's very important to, give people the opportunity to be able to share their perspective, especially if they're boots on the ground. So I wanted to share that before I share the Epstein part.
And if you're simply someone who cares deeply about the continent and wants to stay informed, wants to understand where it's headed, and the role that you can play in shaping its future, this report is especially for you. What you get is clarity, an honest, independent, and unbiased perspective on where Africa truly stands today across power, policy, capital, culture, and opportunity, grounded in my months of reporting, research, and real conversations across the continent and the diaspora. So grab your copy now on my website, sandrabebuboateng.com, or find the link in the description box. And don't stop there, okay? Share the report link with your group chats, your networks, or purchase a second copy as a gift for someone. Every copy purchased helps me produce more independent, in-depth reporting like this. So please support it intentionally. And this report is just the beginning. I invite you also to join our premium channel membership. And finally, don't forget to follow me on Substack, where you never really know what people actually know or what they've just heard in passing. So before we get into the clips, let's do something important. Let's ground this conversation in facts, not speculation, not hypotheticals, not conspiracy. Who exactly is Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire financier who moved at the highest levels of global power for decades. He wasn't famous because he ran a major bank. He wasn't famous because he built a Fortune 500 company or a tech company. He was famous simply because he had access. Epstein socialized with presidents and prime ministers, royalty, hedge fund billionaires, intelligence-linked elites, top scientists, academics, and financiers. He sat on prestigious boards. He funded research institutions. He advised powerful people on money, politics, and influence. And for years, the public was told He's just a mysterious Wall Street genius. Well, Epstein was arrested in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges involving minors. Before he could stand trial, he was found dead in a New York jail cell in what was officially ruled a suicide. That death triggered global outrage, suspicion, and a lot of unanswered questions. But here's the part that often gets lost. Epstein didn't just traffic people, he trafficked access. And that's why his words matter. So this video interview conducted with Steve Bannon was recorded after Epstein's first conviction, when he was already disgraced, but still deeply convinced of his own intellectual superiority. And in it, he speaks freely, at length, and with confidence. And what he reveals is not just ego. He reveals how elites think about who is competent, who is fit to lead, who understands money, and who they believe needs to be managed from the outside. Africa.
Now, I want to stop right there because she made a point to share the facts about Epstein and being arrested for the debaucherous crimes that he committed against young people in particular. And she contrasted that to the ideas that he had pertaining to who had the intellectual capacity to rule the world from a financial position. And, you know, the funny thing is that when you look at the delusions of the colonialists and their mindsets, that they believe that they are so hyper intelligent, yet they're not intelligent enough to know that it's wrong to hurt children. They're not intelligent enough that intelligent enough to know that it's wrong to hurt babies. They're not intelligent enough to know that it's wrong to traffic human beings. They're not intelligent enough to know these things, but they're intelligent enough to rule the world from a financial position. They hold the intelligence in that regard. This is such a indication of the low IQ, the low moral standards, subpar standards of morality, and the demonic deception that they walked in to think that they were so high on one level, but that did not reflect on the low lows of them on a whole different level, which mattered most in how you treat human beings. How you treat people is the biggest indicator about whether or not you have character to sustain the level of being able to rule anything. Because we've seen kings come down for less. We've seen our ancestors who were in kingship come down for less because their moral character could not sustain that leadership role. But somehow, in his deluded mind, he believed that he was superior. My goodness.
And Black people are not the topic of the interview, no, but they become the example, you see? And that's exactly why this episode matters. Because when people like this talk about Africa casually, they're not just sharing opinions. They're revealing the mental frameworks that shape global policy, capital flows, and power itself. All right, now that you know who he is and why his voice matters, let's get into what he actually said, starting with this clip.
So, for example, why is not only inflation, most bankers are terrified if the public understood that the bank really doesn't have their money at any one time. It's one of the things during the Depression, there were runs on the bank. The reason the banks don't keep much money in the actual bank is they assume that not everyone's going to want their money on the same day. So it's not really the fear of inflation. The fear is a run on the bank. Everybody wants to take out something that doesn't really exist. Inflation is tied to interest rates. It's a more complicated example. But when your money doesn't buy the same amount of product this year than it did last year, if it buys less and less, like it happened, you used the term hyperinflation. There's certain countries that are not managed well, like in Africa at the current, a $100 billion bill in Zimbabwe is worth 1 American cent. That's the perfect example of hyperinflation. It goes up, it doubles every day. So people are afraid that their value in the system starts to break down.
So here, Jeffrey Epstein is talking about money, who understands it, who doesn't, and who he believes should be trusted to run complex systems. And it quickly turns into a judgment about Africa. Certain countries aren't managed well, like Zimbabwe. No mention of colonial extraction, no sanctions, no IMF structural adjustment, no Western interference. Africa was simply inserted as shorthand for incompetence.
Now, I go back again to my video with Tucker Carlson and the president of Zimbabwe, because at that very moment when he is asking him, what lessons did you learn? The Zimbabwe president, he had to correct him and had to talk about the fact that these colonial powers thought by putting sanctions on them that they were going to be hurting them. So yes, the economy did tank for a short season, but at the end of the day, Zimbabwe is for Zimbabweans. Okay, so no, we don't need you coming in here with your fake superiority, assuming that you're better than us and trying to hold your so-called dollars against us or penalize us with the removal of those dollars, thinking that you're going to tank us as a nation, as a country, because we need to be, we need you to lord over us and to teach us little black folk how to live. This is the mindset. This is the attitude. And exactly what she said. Epstein is not talking about all the things that they have done, that they have caused hyperinflation on the continent. There's never any taking of accountability with these people. Never. And this is the people that are running the world. This is why there has to be a change of guard, because where there is no accountability, when failure happens, it's never going to be looked at the top. Failure always starts at the top down. But because it's not looked at the top, they want to be at the top, but then at the same time, they want to blame the so-called bottom that they forced to be there. They want to be the Brahmin and they want to blame the untouchables. I tell you, it's a sham system. And it's even something that the amazing Lucas said. I saw it on TikTok where he talked about how they tell themselves that we are intellectually inferior. All the while, they put things systematically in place to keep us from being able to be at the same degree as them. So they say we're intellectually inferior, but then they say that if a slave is taught how to read, then that slave will be punished or be deleted. They say we're inferior, but yet when it comes to the black codes or redlining or taking money away from neighborhoods for education, they do all of these systematic things to keep us in a place where we cannot compete at the same level, whilst they're telling themselves that we are the inferior ones. Because really, their actions are showing that they know that they are the intellectual inferiors to us. But I digress. Let's continue.
This is how power talks when it thinks it's being objective. Africa becomes a prop, a cautionary tale, a financial horror story used to scare Western audiences into compliance. And notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say Zimbabwe's political economy collapsed under specific global pressures. He doesn't say that currency collapse is often the result of external debt traps. He says Africa is not managed well. Full stop. That framing is not accidental. Because if Africa is badly managed, then intervention is justified. Control is justified. Conditional loans are justified. External oversight is justified. This single sentence explains more about how global finance views Africa, yes, than 100 policy papers ever will. And my people, This is just the warm up. Because next, he gets even more explicit about how he views African leadership itself. Take a look.
So are most people that you meet, even on Trilateral Commission, when you meet most people, do you find most leaders financially illiterate, economically illiterate?
Most political leaders don't come out of a background of finance. Most political leaders come out of a background of being popular. So in some of the countries, in some of the African countries, for example, they might have been a military person. They were a general. In some of the African countries, they might have been a disc jockey. Or in our country, they would have been an actor. The knowledge of money they don't have expertise. They have no degrees in finance. They really, and this is one of the major problems. Their expertise, if they have any financial knowledge, is of their own checking account or bank account and filling in their own taxes. So many world leaders who don't really have a financial underpinning make fundamental errors when it comes to money on a country or institutional level.
Do you hear this? There are 54 countries because of the Berlin Conference. 54 countries on the continent of Africa. Multiple Caribbean nations as well with Black leadership. And Black people do not have any financial understanding. They're financially illiterate. Do you see what I said earlier? Is that if you take the role of the president of the United States and you say, okay, he is the head, he's the leader of the free world. But then the president of Zimbabwe or the president of Ethiopia, the president of South Africa, they would be considered in our country an entertainer. They would be considered an athlete. We wonder why it is. Just as Malcolm X said many years ago, only in the Black community do you find the leaders to be the artists and athletes, the actors, the entertainers, only in the Black community. He is literally saying that we believe that the leaders of these nations, if they are to weigh their experiences and their expertise, they would not qualify to be anything more than athletes and artists. And shout out to the athletes and artists who are very intelligent. Okay? But this is what this man believes about the entire continent, about all Black leadership. And it's sickening because we're right now watching Burkina Faso and we're watching President Ibrahim Traore dispel any and all notions of that theory. We know that, y'all say the name for me, Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, I believe, right? We know that he was taken out. He was taken out of commission by these Western imperialist governmental agencies for the fact that he was going to have African economies united under gold-backed currency. We know that. He had to be removed. He had to be labeled a terrorist because the Western powers cannot exist. We know this. We've heard economists discuss this. The Western powers cease to exist without extracting all of the resources of Africa. We know this. And they're gaslighting us. Captain Traore, Captain Guatta, Captain Chiani, President of Botswana and Namibia are qualified. Gaddafi's son had a PhD from London School of Economics, saved Gaddafi, and he was taken out too. You see what I'm saying? The greatest inventors, artists, authors, the greatest geniuses in the entire world are melanated people. And that's a fact. And that's a fact. If we're talking competitively wise, on an intellectual level, this is why they work so hard to make the playing field so uneven. But he's trying to convince us that the whole of Africa, there's no financial intelligence. Why the IMF, the World Bank, why they always got to come in there with these fake loans, with this currency that's like toilet paper compared to what they have on the continent. It's time to wake up. Family, it's time to wake up.
Let's pause right here. Now, this is not an analysis. This is contempt disguised as insight. Notice what he just did. He took an entire continent, 54 countries, thousands of political systems, economists, technocrats, civil servants, and reduced African leadership to a caricature. Generals, DJs, unserious people governing serious systems. And what's dangerous is not just the insult, it's the implication. Because once African leadership is framed as unserious, then African sovereignty becomes negotiable. And then it becomes reasonable for IMF technocrats to override elected governments, for Western consultants to advise ministries indefinitely, for foreign capital to dictate terms, and for external actors to say, we know better. This is how domination gets normalized, not through slurs, not through open racism, but through credentialism, through the idea that you don't have the right background to lead. And here's the part they never say out loud. When African leaders do have finance degrees, when they are economists, when they are Western trained, they're often dismissed as corrupt, co-opted, or not representative. So either way, the conclusion is the same. Africa cannot be trusted to run itself. And that belief didn't start with Jeffrey Epstein, but it does live comfortably in rooms like the ones that he sat in.
Exactly. This isn't an Epstein isolated case. This is a reality of world governing thought, current world governing thought, that we aren't intelligent. And they know it's the opposite. They know there's hyper-intelligence among us. You know, I do not have a degree. I want you to do me a favor and put a 1 in the chat if you have a college degree, and put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Okay? 1 in the chat if you have a college degree. Bachelor's, master's, doctorate, MBA, associates. That's 2 years, but it's still technically a degree. Okay? I do not have a degree. I have sat in spaces with people who have asked me where it is that I got my master's degree from. I've sat in spaces where people told me that they're working towards helping me to get an honorary doctorate. I do know that Yahuwah has blessed me with intelligence, but I know that I'm not the only one. A paper degree that you work towards in this system is honorable because you work towards that degree. And I believe that higher education is essential to the development of our people. But I do not hold to the tenet or the thought that You should not be taken seriously unless you have that European certification behind you. Because what is a lost art form in society as a whole, regardless of your racial background, is logic and critical thinking skills. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hallelujah. Your honorary degree came from the School of Yah, the School of Neology. Early on, when I was coming into faith in the Messiah, I was led to begin reading the book of Proverbs. Proverbs, of course, we know, was written by the wisest man on earth, King Solomon. And the thing about it is that when you allow the Ruach HaKodesh to be your teacher and be your guide, oh my goodness, the depths that he can show you that's built inside of you. These degrees oftentimes put people in a position of pride. You know, when they talk about how you are, what they say, the intelligence you have, you're book smart, but you're street dumb. Something along those lines. There are a lot of people, and even in our community, we have to stop playing into the hands of this system that tells us that we should not be taken seriously unless we have Joe White Man's degree behind our name. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm so serious about this. My son is 3 years into college. I'm not against college, but I just told him today, we were walking this morning, and I said to him, I said, son, I'm proud of you for going to college. He went a year early. He graduated at the age of 16, went to college at 17. He's on his way to graduate with a music education degree and then go back for his master's. But I told him, I said, son, I'm very proud of you. However, I said, do not limit your education to what they are telling you in those books, because what you need to be able to do is to get outside of the system and make your own money, make your own coins. Don't allow this system to box you in and tell you that you need this and you need that and you need this in order to be taken seriously. I promise you, you don't. I promise you, I've stood in rooms where they told me, I don't even want to deal with people with degrees no more. I want to deal with people with logic and critical thinking skills, because that's a lost art form. These Westerners, they have set up the standard by which we feel we must be measured. But that's not our standard. That wasn't our standard. That was never our standard. You understand what I'm saying? Right, Laura? I learned more after school than during. I mean, if you could attest to what Lauren just said, throw some fire emojis up. Did you learn more after school or during school? $40,000 to $50,000 more later. You see, you gotta understand. See, I was back when I was when I was in high school. You know, my system of thinking. I said, wait a minute. Okay, I said I just went to school for 12 years for free. You want me to pay $25,000, $30,000 now, get a loan for $25,000, $30,000 to go to your university now? Nah, bro, I'm good. So when I did go to college, I paid out of pocket. I couldn't afford to keep up with the expense, but I did not stop my learning. My learning never stopped. I'm a forever student. Do you understand what I'm saying? I am a forever student. Why do I need your, because I'm going to tell you what it does. What happens a lot of times when you box yourself into Western thinking about how you're supposed to interpret the information, right? Then when somebody presents some information that is contrary to what you believed, your pride kicks in. And then you're like, oh, I can't learn this information because this set of information that was presented to me was presented as facts. Oh, just like all of y'all who believe in a heliocentric model of the earth versus geocentric. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so then when some new evidence is presented, then you're told to mock it. You're told, oh, you flat earthers. But I shouldn't mock you when you believe that the earth is spinning at 10,000 miles per hour and then spinning again around the sun another 100,000 miles an hour. I shouldn't mock you. I shouldn't use my logic and critical thinking skills to see that I'm standing still. We ain't even gonna get into that discussion. We ain't even gonna get into that discussion. The point I'm trying to say is that they set the standard for education. And they keep moving the goalposts. Just like the sister said, even when we do go get y'all degrees, then we're told that we shouldn't be taken seriously or that we're corrupt. I'm just saying, y'all. You know, the Bible says, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, be not conformed after the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renew your mind, saints. Renew it. Don't get yourself boxed into their systems and then let them tell you about who's intelligent and who's not. I'm just saying. There's a lot of folk out here right now with master's degrees struggling to get a job at McDonald's. But see, I believe the necessity is the mother of invention. And I believe that if you get yourself outside of the box of what the system told you you're supposed to do, the Most High will make a way. He says your gifts will make room for you. I ain't preaching. Let's listen to this more. Just understand. Don't let these imperialists define intelligence for you. Stop doing that. Because when the children of Israel, the true children, when there's a changing of the guard, do you think the Most High is going to sit there and say, did you go to Harvard? Did you graduate from the top HBCU? Come on now, fam. Let me put this back on.
Now, what he says next takes this whole thing one step further, because it's not just about African leadership. It's about Black intelligence itself. Let's turn to the next clip, which is the most revealing one of the entire interview.
Women, again, sense it. And instead of Larry Summers, I won't digress too much, but Howard Gardner early on said, there's not one form of intelligence. It's not mathematical intelligence. There's emotional intelligence, this kinesthetic intelligence. You know, there's this argument that I reject that Black people are less intelligent than white people. It's not true. We know, for example, that if I was in the forest and I had to run from the lion or figure out a way not to be eaten, and my competition is a local African, I'm the one who's getting eaten because they have the intelligence to deal with their local environment. So it's just different. It's not better, it's not worse, but there's many differences amongst different types of people. And so people have different intelligences and they excel in some intelligences usually and less so in others.
Let's pause. Because this is where we're told that the only form of superior intelligence that Africans have is how to fight lions. This right here is the most dangerous kind of racism. You see, not hatred, not slurs, not even open exclusion, categorization. What he's saying, and very calmly, is this: Black intelligence is situational, survival-based, physical, local, while Western intelligence, by implication, is abstract, systemic, financial, global.
Let's pause right there. I really want us to think about what was just said. I really want us to think about it. In light of how we particularly in America, Black America, has been framed post-slavery, post-chattel slavery, post-antebellum, how we have been framed. And I'm going to sing it to y'all in a little song. It goes a little something like this. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. The predominant reasons that we are positioned in a defensive posture at all times is because of the rhetoric that he just used there. Survival. We even joke about it. We talk about the stock market and we say, well, if the stock market crashes, a white man gonna jump out the building. Okay. Stock market crash for us, it's just a typical Tuesday. Okay. We joke about the fact that we know how to survive in any situation. And it's true. We do know how to survive. You know what they say? We don't die, we multiply. But what we have to understand, and I picked this up years ago, because y'all know I've been a homeschool mom for 15 years. And what I was able to deduce when I was thinking about how I would educate my children on our history, which is something I continuously think about. Do I want to start from the foundation of 1619 of slavery? Do I want to present the struggle to them? I wrote about it in my book. Do I want to position to my young minds who are malleable, who are able to be molded? Do I want to create a framework, a foundation for them of survival? Or do I want to talk about excellence? Brother Karras in the building, you know what I'm talking about. You see, because the standard for me is excellence, par excellence. That is my standard. So if that is my standard, how could I then go to my young people who I do not want to receive the generational curses of yesteryear, and this was well before the awakening, and position their minds to believe that the only thing that they need to be thinking about in terms of life is survival? You see, we have been controlled to think this way. We do not strategize. We should have in our minds our schedules laid out 6 months to a year in advance, personal and professional. Schedules laid out. But because it has been built into the core of our DNA, because we are still in the house of our bondage to survive, that is what we do. We go from one day to the next, keeping our head above water, making a way where we can, temporary layoffs. See, that's why my husband, I tell him all the time, I can't stand no good times. I won't watch the show. People say, oh, it's just a good laugh. No, it's not. It's mind control. I don't care what you say. It's mind control that the system has built around you and your mind to think of yourself from the position of survival only. You're not thinking ahead. See, what he's talking about is abstract. We get to think, we get to lay things out years in advance about how we believe that life should go. And in the meantime and in between time, we just try to put some food on the table. There it is. There it is. Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain. See, these are the conversations I want to have with y'all. These are the conversations I want to have with us. Because yes, we know on one end that they look at us from a position of having a low IQ, but at the same time, are we feeding into the narrative? How many books are we reading? Audiobooks, books at night. What are the disciplines that we operate in on a daily basis? Do we have disciplines? Do we have systems built in? Do we even know what systems are about, what they're for? How do we talk about changing generational curses, but we still operating in the same mindset mama them was operating in? How do we do these things? I'm just saying these are the conversations I want to have with y'all. Can we talk about it though? Can we talk about it? Because we don't like how they perceive us, but yet we continue to feed into the narrative and take it from one generation to the next, and we don't ever stop and say we are doing the same thing over and over again. Isn't that the definition of insanity? I'm just saying, y'all. This is where we take accountability. No, I may not like what you have to say, but the truth of the matter is I have to self-introspect. I have to ask myself, have I been feeding into your narrative even though I don't like what it is that you're saying? How do we change it? How do we disrupt the system? You see, when the Most High gets ready to radicalize and shift things, do you think that he will put into the hands of a people who are unlearned and uneducated and undisciplined power and authority? You're kidding yourself. Oh, you're kidding yourself. He's putting in nation builders, leaders, experts. He's putting in people who recognize the need to think beyond what they currently see. Y'all, I said I ain't preaching. We're going to listen to this. This is the conversations we need to be having, because this is how they think about us. And then when they think like this, they don't just think like this. They put actions in place to make sure that their biases come to pass so that we walk in it subliminally. We don't even know it. Let's continue.
And this is not new. This is the same logic that once said Africans are naturally strong, but not naturally intellectual. Black people are instinctive, but not strategic. Useful in environments of risk, but not in rooms of power. My people, I'm African. And if you leave me with a lion, guess what? I'm getting eaten too. There is no special racial intelligence for fighting a lion. And there is no racial intelligence for managing complex financial systems either. What exists is training, access, and tools, period. And the moment that we pretend this is about biology or different kinds of intelligence, we stop talking about systems and start justifying the inequality. But notice how politely he delivers it, right? It's not better or worse. It's just different. That's how hierarchy survives in modern language. Because once intelligence is divided this way, it becomes logical, not racist. For Black people to be overrepresented in labor, overrepresented in sports, overrepresented in danger, and underrepresented in finance, in policy, in systems design, in global decision-making. This is why Black excellence is constantly treated as an exception, not evidence. And this clip tells you something crucial. These ideas are not fringe. They are not extremist. They live comfortably inside elite institutions, spoken by men who believe that they're being fair, they're being balanced and scientific. And here's the irony. Epstein spends this entire interview insisting that no one truly understands the financial system, that is too complex, too unpredictable, too chaotic. Yet he has absolute certainty about who is supposedly equipped to run it.
Family, before I get ready to play the next part, because he definitely divulges information concerning, like I said, diasporans, African Americans. But this is how they think about us as a collective. We get stuck on Shem versus Ham. But the reality is that whether we're Shem or Ham, they see Black skin, they think, yeah, y'all saw it. Y'all saw it earlier. Y'all saw Trump, what he did with that tweet or whatever it is, Truth Social post that he made of the Obamas. Made them into, I believe, apes it was, right? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all saw that earlier. And I believe he's doubling down on it. He created this post where Obama, who is Hamitic from Kenya, and Michelle, who is Shemitic from Judah, made both of them into apes. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now the thing is, if it's a lot of deflection, because if you know anything about Europeans, you know that a lot of them have the rhesus monkey gene. Okay. As to why it is that they have a low birth rate right now, why they need Rogam shots in order to have babies. But I digress. They still think this way. They believe that we're animals. When we are made in the image of the Most High, they see animals. And we have to understand that until we shift our perspective, they will continue to be able to think that way and create systems around those thoughts without penalization. In other words, Trump is not going to be put out of office because of what he did to the Obamas. In his immaturity, he should not be so-called leading. There's no decorum of an actual leader that he possesses, but he's able to get away with that because systems have been built in place by them to continue to push that narrative. And then we have bad actors who also push that narrative for them, because as long as they can get a couple of butter biscuits, okay, then they will continue to believe in the high intelligence and superiority of European powers. As long as they can rub shoulders with it. Tim Scott. You understand what I'm saying? As long as they can rub shoulders with it. Let's get back so we can hear what Jeff has to say about the African American community.
That contradiction tells you everything. Now watch what happens in this next clip. Epstein moves from talking about intelligence and leadership to talking about who he believes is responsible for economic collapse. And pay close attention to who he centers and how he frames responsibility. Let's roll the clip.
Did the Bear Stearns guys talk to you for advice at that time when the big crisis in Bear Stearns?
No, but see, again, unbeknownst to most people, and it's easy to blame people for the financial crisis, like you'd blame someone for giving your father the drink before he had his heart attack. But what really happened, the real enemy of the finance system was Bill Clinton. And if you ask me what and who caused the financial crisis, I would tell you it was Bill Clinton.
Because of what Bob Rubin and he did to deregulate the financial system?
No. Because as of the last time we had our 60-minute interview, you talked to me about home ownership. And you asked me whether everyone should own a home. And I told you, no, it's too risky.
So the financial collapse of 2008 is because of hardworking African Americans, Hispanics, and whites who wanted to have a ownership stake in the society that all rests on their shoulders. They're the culprits.
No, not at all.
Okay, then
I didn't say they were the culprits. I was pretty clear it was Bill Clinton.
Okay.
And why was it Bill Clinton? Because Bill Clinton wanted to get votes from those people. And he sold them the idea that instead of renting in a house, and historically the values of houses have gone up, and he said, you guys in these local communities who haven't been able to afford a house before, I'm going to show you a way. I'm going to give you a way, because I'm sure I'll get your vote, that you can own a house, because I want your vote. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let you buy a house, Mr. Bannon, when you really, you're right on the border, maybe, or not even on the border. Your credit is not good. Okay, let's be honest. And it's not my fault. It's not Bill Clinton's fault. But if whatever happens, at the moment your credit score or whatever it is, your credit's not good. Now, normally, you come to me and want to borrow money. I'm a bank. And I say, I'm sorry, Mr. Bannon, I can't lend you money because your credit score is not up to where it needs to be. Hopefully, if you work harder and clean up some of your problems, it will be. But no, what I say to you is, I'm going to figure out a way to lend you, not give you. I'm going to lend you money anyway, though you don't have a good credit score. And don't worry, I'm going to get rid of the term that you don't have bad credit. Bad credit sounds pejorative. You don't want to be a person.
Sounds judgmental.
Yeah, sounds judgmental. So what we're going to do is we're going to call your credit situation subprime. Oh, nobody knows what that means. Subprime. That means prime is good credit. Subprime is not good credit, less than good credit. So we'll call it something that people really won't follow. And we'll tell you what, we're going to have people lend you money, though you are a subprime borrower. And I will figure out some government agencies to guarantee your loan, though I don't think you're a good risk. So the banks say, no. We don't want, initially, the bank said, sorry, this is too risky, Mr. President, for us. We're in the business of managing risk. It's not our money. It's the hard-working people's money sitting in our bank. We can't lend to people whose credit is not prime. You're asking us to lend to people who are subprime. And he says, here's the key, if you don't, Mr. Bannon, I'm going to make sure the Justice Department charges you with discriminatory lending because you refuse to lend to my subprimers. In business terms, you should never lend to. But what we'll do is I'm going to form an agency called Fannie Mae and Ginnie Mae, just another agency names. They'll guarantee your loan. So don't worry. Don't worry. You don't have to pay it back anymore. Even though and maybe you don't even have to work as hard anymore. That's probably a harsh statement, but these players, these two big firms, Fannie Mae, will guarantee the fact that that bank will receive its money. Now, the bank says, wow, best deal in history. I refused to lend to Mr. Bannon, but now he has the big brother, his Uncle Sam. He went to his Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam says, I'm guaranteeing it. The bank says, I want everybody. Give me as many people as you can give me, because Uncle Sam is the best credit in the world. Not only that, it's the United States government. We'll take it all. We'll take as much subprime as we can handle, because it's the best investment for the moment. It's a strange investment because it has politics that has inserted its way into the numbers. Politics doesn't belong in the markets, but now we're going to have, I want the votes. We'll make guarantees that you who can't get a house normally will be able to get a house from the bank. The bank says, this is the best deal in history. We will package 100, 300, 1,000 of you subprimers, and we'll sell it off to somebody else. And the whole system becomes mired in subprime mortgages.
Let's stop here.
Okay. I wanted that all to play out because the whole breakdown of it, subprime, the idea that, the banks are saying, we've got these good, hardworking people here. We have their money. And these others, these undesirables, these brokies with subpar credit, we don't want to give any monies to have loans for their home. But can you all remind me, how many businesses did the current president put in bankruptcy? How many? Does anybody know the number? How many of his businesses went into bankruptcy? Can anybody tell me that? And I left this comment up here for a long time because it hit the nail on the head, Todd Wilson. But what about the trillions of dollars missing or unaccounted for by the federal government? What about them? Or how about when the banks fell and they need a bailout? I mean, do you all see the endless hypocrisy? Talking about people who don't have good credit. You know, if you pay all your bills and you have no credit, you're considered worse than someone who has bad credit, because they don't know whether or not you're going to be able to play this manipulative game of credit, because you're paying all your bills. So if you pay all your bills and you believe cash is king, then you are more of a threat for them to justify not approving a house loan, a home loan, than somebody who has even subpar credit. Because it's all a big game. That's what they said. You got good debt and you have bad debt, right? So the good debt is supposed to be in your house, and the bad debt is supposed to be your car loan, because your car depreciates in value where your house is supposed to appreciate in value. But we already know, based off of the current models, based off of the current interest rates, based off of all of these things that are currently going on, not to mention BlackRock, that people's houses are not going up as appreciating values. They're either staying stagnant, and in some places they're going down in value. But this man is convinced that, not Bill Clinton, even though, because you know he got to say Bill Clinton, that it's them po blacks and Mexicans that crashed the economy. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? What the PMI is supposed to be for the brokies too, right? You get the PMI insurance because you can't meet the 20% down payment on your home. So if you could only put down a small percentage of down payment, you got to get the PMI insurance. You see, there you go. Frame the problem, Hegelian dialect, and come up with the solution. That's what they operate in. That's what they operate in. Bible says that the borrower is slave to the lender. But you got that right. Go ahead, explain that one to me. Most High said the borrower is slave to the lender. So if I'm not a borrower because I pay back my debts, that means I'm not a slave. But what you want is good slaves. You want to make sure you keep a good slave to the system that you created. This debt system. How many trillions of dollars, in this corporation are we in debt in America? That did not happen from hardworking Black and Latino people who had, quote unquote, subpar, subprime credit. These people like to they like to use the suffixes on words. They like to interpret what those means until you get to other words like Jewish. We want to talk about sub, but we don't want to talk about ish. Oh yeah, we going there. Now we're gonna leave that part out. We're gonna leave out the ish mean like, but not exactly. But we're gonna talk about how sub means under. I'm just saying. I'll tell you why later on. Let's continue to listen.
Because this entire section reveals the core problem with Epstein's worldview. He keeps returning to the same idea that the 2008 financial crisis was essentially caused by hardworking African Americans and Hispanics who wanted home ownership. And I want us to slow down and ask a very basic question. Why does this story always need Black and Latino faces? Why is it African Americans and Hispanics who are singled out as the problem when subprime lending was not a Black and brown only category? There were millions of white Americans with subprime credit. Millions. Rural white borrowers, working class white families, low income white communities. Yet somehow, when this story gets told, subprime becomes racialized. This is not an accident. Epstein wants you to believe that this crisis was driven by political pandering, irresponsible borrowers, and people who shouldn't have had access, you see? But that framing is deeply dishonest because the crisis was not caused by who wanted loans. It was caused by who designed the system. Banks aggressively marketed risky loans, targeted vulnerable communities and vulnerable white borrowers, bundled toxic mortgages, sold them as safe assets, and got paid regardless of whether the loans failed. That is not a borrower problem. That is a business model. Yet notice what happens rhetorically. The blame slides downward from deregulation, financial engineering, regulatory capture to, well, Bill Clinton gave those people too much because he wanted their votes. This is not just about 2008. This is a pattern. We've seen it before. For decades, Americans were told that Black and Latino people were the main beneficiaries of food stamps. That narrative fueled resentment. It fueled racial backlash. It fueled policy rollbacks. And then the data came out. The largest group of food stamp recipients, white Americans. Same story, different time. Now fast forward to DEI. We were told that DEI was for Black people, for minorities. Unfair advantage. And then the research came out. Who benefited the most from DEI initiatives? White women. Yet somehow, the political anger never shifted. Because the point of these narratives is not accuracy, right? It's redirection. When elites frame economic crises the way they do, they accomplish three things. They absolve systems of responsibility. The market didn't fail. Regulation didn't fail. People failed. They racialize blame. Even when whites are numerically dominant participants, Black and Latino people become the face of excess. They justify exclusion going forward. Less access, more gatekeeping, more discipline, more austerity. This is how inequality reproduces itself, not through force, but through story. You see? Let's be very clear. Black and Latino families did not crash the global economy by wanting homes. A financial system designed to extract value without accountability did. And when that system collapsed, the same people who profited from it needed someone else to carry the moral weight of the failure. And so they told a familiar story, one that sounds technical, one that sounds reasonable, one that just happens, again, to place Black and brown people at the center of the blame.
Like someone said in the comments, the devil is a lie. He's the father of lies. And that's why we as a people have to wake up and we have to understand that everything that has been produced in the system has been built upon the lie. That we are the blame. that we are subpar in credit, intelligence, finances, policy making. We can't lead nations. We need to be managed by them, of course, because they know what's best. Can't you see it? But we're going to shift the narrative a little bit. And as I said, you know, shout out to the sister. Her channel is called, let me see. My eyes ain't what they used to be, y'all. Genius TV. Y'all check out her channel. I think she did such an excellent job on this video. I think it needed to definitely be addressed and it needs to get out there. If you've not already hit the like button, definitely hit the like button. Share this video. This is the type of information that we need. There's so much information that has come out now that I believe a huge amount of it is a distraction. Because a lot of the stuff that's been going on that is detrimental to society, that is morally bankrupt, has been going on well before Epstein. Okay. So when they're pushing a lot of this stuff in our face, I'm always trying to find out, okay, what's the real story? What's really happening? But I want to address something that I made a comment about earlier, that we want to talk about the sub, but we don't want to talk about the ish. Want to talk about the sub, but we don't want to talk about the ish. You see, because the reality is that Jeff Epstein is not a traditional white man, or was not a traditional white man in the sense of what we say Caucasian. Can anybody guess where his background lies? It's the same as Ghislaine Maxwell. And if you all saw my education video the other day, I talked about her father, who is responsible for the books that our schools get. The McGuffey, I believe, I think it's not McGuffey. What is the name of the books that all of the students received when they were growing up in school? They're educational books. Her father owned the company. Okay? Somebody set it up here. There you go. Yehuda Club. Yehuda Cub. Yes, sir. That's where it come from. That's what it comes. McGraw-Hill. Yes. McGraw-Hill. That's Epstein. That's Maxwell. Okay? This is them feeding us information. Feeding our youth information. Feeding us our understanding and interpretation of history, of knowledge and information. It's them folk. The Rev 29 and 39 folk. See, they don't talk about that. Why aren't they talking about that? Why are they not highlighting that? And everything that they're highlighting, why not that part? Because again, Hegelian dialect. It's the yin and the yang. It's the black versus the white. It's the create the problem to manage the solution. It's the chessboard. Because what we don't want y'all to see is that we are the real bad actors that have been leading the charge on everything that has been going on in the world. We've been leading the charge. And yes, his interest on the continent, somebody asked me earlier if that was a South African flag. Yes, it was. Because you might not realize, but he was obsessed with South Africa. For all of the stuff that he was saying, all of this language that he was using, trying to pretend as though we are so anti-intellectual, he sure did love the women. She sure does love the women. Come on. I'm going to read a little bit of this. Then I might bring Karis on if he got a minute so we could talk about it. On the prowl for South African girls. Y'all got to understand them folk over there, they big over there. The emails also revealed that Epstein had a number of intermediaries supplying him with the pictures and profiles of South African girls keen on international modeling or what they assumed was international modeling. She would like to travel to Paris and New York, reads a laconic email of this kind from June 2014, alongside photos of a Cape Town woman. Epstein seems to have made heavy use of a so-called scout called Daniel Said, who is described in another email as a recruiter of girls and or women for J. Epstein. Chat logs show Siad sending Epstein pictures of girls from various world cities for review. On one such occasion, indicating the level of control he expected to exercise over his victims. Epstein responds to a photograph. She is nice, but her are awful. They will have to be redone. One of the cities Said proud for Epstein was Cape Town, which Said described to Epstein as a place where the potential of girls was huge. At one time, another redacted correspondence even plotted with Epstein about luring in an unnamed young South African man using the same kind of acquisitive language that Epstein used for women. We need to find a way to get this boy for my birthday. I will send you details, and then I need to devise a plan of action. Joel chapter 3, you traded a boy for a harlot and a girl for a cup of wine. You see, when the scriptures come to life. He's 24, and I just want even half an hour with him. I spoke to him last night. He was holding my hand and speaking Afrikaans to me. He is South African, but dated blank, so we seriously need a plan. And he guessed I was 27. One of Epstein's most high-profile survivors has been South African Juliette Bryant, who was awarded financial compensation from Epstein's estate after his deletion. Bryant has been telling her harrowing account to Daily Maverick in recent days. The full extent of Epstein's South African network may never be known. While these newly released documents reveal a pattern of predatory behavior that stretched across continents, they represent only a fraction of his activities. For the South African woman or women who fell into his orbit, whether through modeling scouts, employment opportunities, or other seemingly legitimate channels, the promise of international opportunity masked a far darker reality. Taken together, the newly released records sketch a disturbing picture of how Epstein folded South Africa into his global system of exploitation, a place where elite connections, there's that word again, lack scrutiny, and the aspirations and financial needs of young people could be leveraged to his advantage. I'm telling y'all. We have to wake up. We have to recognize that this system is imploding. And the Most High is allowing everything that has been covered to be uncovered. What is done in the dark is coming to the light. What's whispered in the secret chambers is being shouted from the rooftops. It's so important that this information has come out and is coming out. I'm going to, for about 10 minutes, I'm going to give the link. If you want to come in and say your piece for about 10 minutes, you come on and say your piece about this situation, about this entire situation concerning everything that y'all just heard, how he felt, how the elitists feel when it comes to us as a people, and how we as a people must shift the narrative for ourselves. But it's going to take work. Here's the thing, family, it's going to take work. It requires work. What that means is it requires self-introspection, like I said earlier, to get to a place where you realize that you've been controlled by these same narratives and begin to shift your mind and elevate and say, I'm no longer going to be in the mental state that these colonizers and these PDF files have put on me, my progeny, and my people, whether they are in America, in the Caribbean, in the UK, in Canada, on the continent, in Asia, in Australia. I don't care whether they are, where they're at. We have to come to a consensus that we are no longer going to allow these imperialist powers to create narratives and systems around these false narratives for us. So the link is out there. If any of y'all want to come on, y'all got about 1 or 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to wrap things up. Shout out to Sister Diamond. Do me a favor and shoot me an email, sis. I've been trying to get in contact with you. I have something to share with you, so please shout me out or send me an email, ashondatlarge11@gmail.com. All right. Brother Karis in the building. Peace and blessings, bro. How you doing? Can you hear me? I
Yeah, I
think
can.
there you
There you
are.
go. There
Okay.
you go. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Sorry, it just took me a little bit trying to make sure I could actually get my my throat to cooperate. Sister Ashanda, you've seen the worst of me this week, and it's getting a little better. It's getting a little better.
You sound better. You sound a
Yeah,
lot
it's
better.
yeah, but I still feel like that that frog in the back of my throat type thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not 100%, but yeah, I definitely sound a lot better. But
Well, prayers for your full recovery, bro.
I
Definitely.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, again, Sister Shonda, you always bring that fire, and you touch topics that I will try to scantily touch.
Gotta be careful around these parts, right?
Oh, you got to be careful. Listen, you know that Epstein was here in Florida, and he wasn't that far from your neck of the woods. I'm just on the other side of the state. You
I'm
know what
telling
I'm
you.
saying?
I'm telling you.
And
Seriously.
isn't that crazy? Because it's like I'm like I'm sorry, I haven't touched on that because to be quite honest, my stomach I can't stomach that.
I know.
And the reality is I teach these 13, 14-year-old girls that this man, this psychopath, and I still believe that he was an agent
Mm-hmm.
of, that state that shall not be named. Because again, they threw the Diddy thing on out there. Do you see how they did that strategically? They're throwing the
Oh
Diddy
yeah.
on out there strategically.
Oh, for
And
sure.
then a couple of months later, weeks later, then it's Epstein, and then you have Trump mentioned 38,000 times.
Right. Right.
And you have in some of these, and I listened to some of these commentaries where it was so vile that they would have pieces of bodies with chickens acting like it was cool. But then you think about the Delectable Negro cookbook. These are
Right.
real things.
Exactly. This is
And
this is
and
not new stuff. This is what they've been doing.
they've been doing that, but the reality is, I believe that a switch occurred spiritually, supernaturally, physically, however you all want to call it. I believe that in that switch, I don't think that they are able to touch us like we had once been touched.
Right.
And now they have to go to the substitute, right? They got to go to generic. They can't have the name brand anymore. I'm just saying.
Mm.
You see, you know,
Yeah.
they have to go to Timu. They can't get the first hand stuff. They got to get them little dollhouse couches, thinking that they ordered the real thing.
Right.
and you know, and
Somebody done got messed up from Timu.
everybody done got messed up from T-Mill. You get a picture of what you thought you were gonna get.
Right. I see that
and,
too. That's crazy.
and I laugh because the reality is they're getting a picture of what they thought that they were getting before, but they're not getting that anymore. And with what the man had said about about everything in terms of, how they do not want to be able to really take responsibility in a system that they've created, because the system that they create is always designed for controlled chaos. It's always designed because if you notice, it always has an ebb and a flow. It can never stay up. It always falls. It always falls.
Yep.
So right now, the design was that we would be on out here, even with Trump's thing, with his post. You know how demeaning that was. You know how provocative that was.
Yeah, it was
They,
intended.
but what they were mad about, and they were trying to push this. People are like, oh, they're trying to push it for the 24-hour news cycle because they want to do this and they're trying to get paid. No, no, no. They don't care about that. They know that this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get us on out there because they need our voice, because our voice has always been able to magnify their designs. And
Come on
when we're
now.
not out there magnifying their designs, sing us a song, Judah.
Right.
Come on.
Yes.
These are scriptures that they know of us. Do you
Yes.
not think that they took out Jasher and Jubilees for a reason? Do you not
Right.
know how powerful we are? Because why? Because what we have said I still remember this from 2017, 2018. I'm just sitting in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to Yakoba, listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
And Yakoba had on out there, look, Africa's about to wake up. Oh, no, no, Africa's not going to wake up. We're never going to, right? Nothing's ever going to happen in Africa. Africa's never. And then, do you understand that everything that they had stated was never going to happen has happened
Exactly.
over in the continent?
Absolutely.
They said, "Oh, we'll never come together. We'll never sit it on out. We're fighting for this place." What happened in 2025?
Come on now. Come on.
Why are they so mad at us online? Oh, did you not vote? Listen, I'm sorry, but guess what? The Most High said to not set another nation, a ruler from another nation ahead of his people. I'm
Come
sorry, but
on
that's
now.
what the
Come on
Most High
now.
said.
Come
I'm
on now.
sorry, but that's his word. I don't vote for another oppressor. I don't vote.
Exactly.
What difference does it make for me to vote in my captivity?
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And the thing is that, my perspective on politics is shifting a bit because I used to be like completely anti-politics because I see it all as a farce. But I think on the local level, when we have those who represent us well, then we should support that when they're of us, not of the other groups, the other peoples, because we know a lot of them are bad actors. But the problem is deciphering, because we still have so many people that look like us, but they still hold on to the ideology of the colonialists. And that is exactly why we're in the position that we're in today. And we have to pray for discernment, because there's too much of people who want the butter biscuits and want to hold on to a little bit of power while they are holding back our people from being able to move forward like we should, because they have been entertained by the mindset of Epstein and his crew to believe that we are not capable of leading ourselves. This is a problem. This is what the Most High has to shift. This is why the changing of the guard has to happen. And I believe it's going to happen on such a mass scale that even locally, federally, whatever, anybody who looks like us, but is not for the things of Yah, they will be taken out. I believe that. I don't believe they're going to be able to just sit there and continue to put up these systems that have been destroying us as a people and allowed to get away with that. I think the same way that the Most High is protecting his people, that he is calling out and putting on the carpet those who look like us, but are protecting the systems of the powers that should not be. That's how I feel about it. I really do. Shalom, Fast Nickel. How you doing, my brother?
Shalom. Good. This has been very funny, interesting. What Brother Karras said was on point. When you talk about the prime and subprime, basically Epstein was the visionary for the prime and Diddy for the subprime.
Oh,
Say that part again.
That's mic drop right there.
Epstein was for the people who we call the prime, and Diddy for everybody else. That the people who are prime don't want to deal with him. They want to deal with someone that looks like them.
Mm-mm-mm. Wow, that's
Mm.
deep. But that speaks also to what Karis was talking about earlier about the energy and how we're not giving
Exactly.
it
It's
to
all
them
about
anymore.
emotion. That's why you shouldn't be watching the news, because the news is all geared to get you emotionally geared up.
Facts. And the news is
brother
fake
Fast,
anyway.
brother
It's all
Fast Nickel,
fake. It's all fake, and it's all meant to get you going.
brother Fast Nickel. We had a discussion yesterday for some of the things that we're taking care of beyond behind the scenes with a meeting we had earlier this week, and I had discussed something, and when I called in, I had a lot of emotion, and brother Fast Nickel was saying, "Brother Karras, uh, you got to explain this to me, brother Karras." So he had to like calm me down, and then as soon as we got calmed down, what happened, brother Fast Nickel? How productive were things?
Very.
Very, but it's one of those things that, again, when they emotionalize us, we can only operate in a state of frenzy. And then when you're able to breathe and relax and understand, okay, this is just going them being crazy. They're always going to be crazy. That's what the Most High has already said. We've been given to a foolish nation.
Come on now.
They're now understanding that they've been given to a foolish nation, because the reality is that the mascots of foolishness that was really our title. Want to know how it was our title? Because that's how we would get folks would be getting paid to be the silly gestures, minstrels, and
Yes.
all sorts of demonic things. They throw every single demonic feat that they want to have on us and be like, oh, see, we're not into that. That's not what we do. That was never what we did. But what is telling is simply this: they're mad because the more that we sit at home, the more that we interact, the more that we talk and reason with one another, guess what we start to do? We actually start to calm down, and we start to think, and then we start to show things with clarity. And when things are done with clarity, that's when the vision is said. It's not word salad anymore. Hey, we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. We simplified a campaign that, to be quite honest, for me, had a lot of stress, but that stress was because that's what we've all learned how to do. I do things in stress, and I know I'm like, wait a second, Father, that's not what I should be doing. We all do that. We
Yeah.
all go through that. That's the learned conditions, the learned experiences that we've lived with here in the United States. The
It's a
moment
survival.
the moment we actually calm down is the moment that we actually have a breakthrough. That's what the Most
Exactly.
High has always said: fear
Let,
not.
Yes.
let me share this one thing with you based on what you're saying. So about 20 years ago, I heard an interview with Diddy. And during that interview, he was speaking about how he had to leave a 9 to 5 job because the 9 to 5 job was put in place to keep you working. So think about this. Everything goes up. This is why I'm always telling people, whether it's crypto or not, you need to have some type of assets, whether you're buying property, stocks, something, because the way the system is built, you're not going to survive on a paycheck alone, because the system was not meant for you to survive on that. That's why the rich have all these tools and asset plans in place. So when you're constantly working a 9 to 5 to make ends meet, as Brother Karras is saying, you don't have the time to sit down and think of things because you're always in scramble mode.
Yeah, that's the way they designed it. That's
That's the
exactly
way they
right.
designed it.
Mm-hmm. But when they designed it that way, they designed it that way for us. But what's happened is spilled over into every other racial demographic now.
Correct.
Because that was even orchestrated in a way, and then I'm going to give Brother Asaph, Elder Asaph, an opportunity to come in and speak. But that was designed in a way initially to create the propaganda around black and white, right? Because you had to convince, we've heard it in their writings, Lyndon Johnson talking about convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best Negro, right? So you had to do that in order to keep that system going. But because of where we're at in this period of time, the globalists have now made it clear that it's really them against all of us, in the sense of they never were for the other racial demographics. So they didn't care if they struggled or not. They could care less. They never wanted us. We were the ones that were competing against them. That's what they have been trying to squelch from forever. But now that we are waking up, they understand that they can't play the same playbook. So they're overloading the system now and having every other group of people experience the same problems that we've been experiencing since forever. That's why we have to have the mental shift. That's why we can't be in survival mode anymore. That's why what you just said, I think, Karras, about stopping, reflecting, taking a minute, backing away, getting out of our emotions so that we can now hear from the Most High, so that we can strategize effectively. That's when that comes into play. And nobody else is going to be able to do that. Nobody, because the promise is to us, it's to Judah. Brother Asaph, looks like Karras fell off for a minute, but Brother Asaph, how you doing? Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, Sister Shonda. That was a higher than a PhD presentation that you put out there.
Oh
I'd
wow!
say, I would say you've been reading the last book that I wrote, but without the statistics in it, the 61 tables. Yeah, that's fantastic. Epstein was no financial genius. He compromised every government person, including one of our ministers over here, who is an ambassador, who was an ambassador but has been fired and was a finance minister. So therefore, he could talk about people not understanding the financial markets because he was working with inside information. The person is currently being investigated by the police, who served 2 warrants on his addresses, a London address and another address outside London. So we should not really take these people very seriously now because they're being exposed. They're no better than what we are, but they've had, as you said, systems in place to put them where they are. And I am sorry, but I don't think that the system has very long to go. How can you've had people working for 400 years and you broke in Europe and you broke in America? And the Chinese have more resources than what you had, and they never practiced chattel slavery. It says something about the way you run your economy.
There you go. So, exactly. It says something about how you run your economy.
Yeah. So, as a man bedridden and in pain at the moment, I'll land my plane there and say, Brother Karras, you've seen what I've produced, and there is more coming, because Yah has inspired me to put out more.
Your library is coming. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Elder Asaph. You are so respected in the
Let me
community.
make a comment based on Brother Karras' favorite topic, the rapture.
Okay.
The whole reason they put that whole rapture nonsense is to take people's mind off of focus. Instead of focusing on solve problems here, they figured, hey, we're not going to be here, so let's just worry about going to heaven.
What? Yes, yes, that's right. Beam me up, Scotty. Beam me up,
The
Scotty. That's
donkey and carrot doctrine.
yes, that's what they sold our ancestors when they said, they came, they gave us a Bible, and then they took our land. And when they gave the Bible back, they were giving them, they were giving them their own culture that had been bastardized, stripped of everything that related to them, and repackaged and resold to them. And that is why we have to have discernment from the Ruach, because we've been deceived for such a very long time. But he is changing everything. I firmly believe, as I'm looking at things on a panoramic level, that the Most High's idea of the awakening is not just about us coming into the knowledge of our Hebrew identity. I believe that this is about shifting everything. Okay. Everything as we know it is shifting. As told him, the world, the end of the world, as we know it. Okay, as we know it, because every single sector of society will be impacted, because every single sector of a society has been controlled by the lie. So therefore, the Most High has to now expose the lie so that he can then uproot it and replant with the truth. Quick question, Elder Asaph, from According to Yah. What are your books? Please share your books. And if they are available for purchase, please share that as well.
Yes, the books are available. One is from Muskets, Masters of the Universe, from Muskets to AI. That's available on Amazon. And also Ibrahim, the Emergence of the Pan-African Dream. That's also available on Amazon. And my latest one is the rise and decline of the British Empire. And that's also available on Amazon, and they're also available on Barnes and Noble as well.
Amazing. Please put them in the chat so people can get the actual title and they can click on, or they can look it up in the search. We believe in support and work around here. Okay. Supporting our people is huge. Y'all know that QTUA is doing amazing work. Please donate to the work that they're doing, because they are setting the tone for the diaspora. Okay. It is a dry bones that is coming together, the two sticks into one. And when I tell y'all that the Most High, he is doing things well beyond us, but he has allowed us to be used as instruments in his greater plan. And so all of us have to play our part, and we got to support one another. So that is critical. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank those of you who have given via Cash App. I want to give thanks quickly to Jay Sloan, as well as to, I apologize, to Sister Melanie. I want to thank y'all so much for your gifts. And those of you who continue to support your monthly gifts or super chat, super sticker, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Those who have purchased my book, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful for you. I'm going to give Brother Fast Nickel and Brother Karis the opportunity to say their final words before we get ready to close out. I'll start with Brother Fast Nickel. You can share something that Yahuwah lays on your heart for the people.
Just say shalom, and everybody just continue to help out with QTUA and all the other projects that we're all doing. And that's it. Thank you, Sister Ashonda.
Absolutely. And Fast Nickel, before you go, what specific project? I know you are big into the crypto. What specific project that you have going on that you would like to highlight before you go?
Yes, you can go to learncrypto101.info. And right now I have a free download for people, but I have a special guest showing up on my show on Monday on my live. I have a financial advisor. So the people that are part of my membership will be able to ask questions to someone who is a financial advisor.
Well, there we go. We're talking about financial advice today. We're talking about financial literacy, and we're talking about changing the dynamics. So thank you so much, Fast Nickel. I know you're very instrumental in this space. Thank you so much for coming on. Brother Karis, closing words?
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Sister Shonda. Just a caveat. Don't be taking Jeffrey Epstein's financial advice. Just saying.
For real.
Well, or what was survival advice? Well, because we're from Africa, we can outrun some tigers and cheetahs, and we can survive against some gorillas and bears. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Oh my
You
gosh.
know, and what I'm going to tell you all is, please be vigilant, not to have the attitude of the get away from me. Actually, this is a time where you want to have the attitude of love. Because I'm going to tell you this, as we are a light unto the nations, we are, as what was stated earlier, the moral authority has shifted, because it's not anything that was ever physical. It was always something spiritual. They could never take that away from us. And now what they're seeing in that spiritual plane that is really causing these folks to really lose their minds. I mean, you have people going crazy. They don't even want to tell you how bad people are going crazy. That's why they're trying to keep you steady on this Epstein list. I mean, I'm being serious. You have them folks, their people talking about this is the worst time to be alive, because they don't have the dream that they thought that they were going to have promised to them.
Yes.
And the reality is this, they're now beginning to have some sort of a introspective. They're starting to now look internally and realizing that everything that they had learned, the lies that they had learned, is no longer working.
Jeremiah 16:19.
It is.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yes. Behold, look, they learn lies, right? There's no profit now. They can't even have a profit on a dollar. The dollar declined 10% last year. And do you not think that the dollar is still declining? It absolutely is.
Yep.
Do you not think that they're trying to throw Epstein to you? Because they're even lying about, did talks take place between Iran and US and Oman, or did they not? You get what I'm telling you? Like, everything is a lie and a deception. And and this is why a lot of people are on these anxiety medicines, because their focus is on the outside when they need to be focusing on who's inside. They have through Yahushua HaMashiach.
That's right.
That's the focus. And if your focus isn't there and you're not being led by the Ruach HaKodesh, you're going to be in some dangerous times.
I don't know how people get along without the Most High. I really don't know how they do. But, I understand that it's a narrow path. You know what I mean? It's a narrow, and the things of this world, the carnal man cannot understand the things of the spirit. And that's why they're in the position that they're in, where they have to have so many different vices, because they can't cope with regular life, because the spiritual world is primary first. That's what people need to understand. It's primary. So as the spiritual world, the veil is lifting, as the judgments are upon us, they're spiritual before they're physical. So it's a heightened spiritual atmosphere that we're living in. And it doesn't matter where you live, it's heightened everywhere. But if you don't know the Most High, how can you have the peace that surpasses all understanding to guard your heart and your mind? How can you? And we're all programmed, to give into the system with this AI and the constant being in front of a computer. The Most High has told me to back away, and I told y'all that even from last year, to back away at times so that I can just be in quiet, because that's a lost art form as well, is being quiet and still. You can't think when there's something always going on around you, distracting you, pulling your attention. But he says, be still and know that I am Yah. So we have to get to that place where we could quiet ourselves so that we can get his strategy. He is the general. He is the one that's leading this army. So therefore, we got to quiet ourselves so that we can hear from him. Brother Karras, thank you so much for coming on and for doing all the work that you do. I know that it's a lot, but you are definitely planting faith seeds in the heavenly courts with the Most High. He sees and knows all that's on your plate, and he will bless the works of your hands. I was sharing with my son the other day the prayer of Jabez and how the Most High just pulled and extracted out of 2 Chronicles his prayer and blessed him accordingly because of his faithfulness and trusting him. So thank you so much, Brother Karras. I'm getting ready to wrap things up, and you have a blessed afternoon.
All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Okay, thank y'all so much, family, for tuning in today. I want to highlight this comment from Tracy Brinson that says, Sister Shonda, I purchased your book for my 90-year-old aunt who loves to read about our people and loves history. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Tracy. That means so much to me. Y'all have no idea how much your testimonies impact me. They really do. All praises to the Most High. He is faithful, and he will continue to use us as we are willing to be in his service. So thank all of you for tuning in. I pray that this has been a blessing to you all. Again, I'm extending the sale for one more day, considering it is the Shabbat. So tomorrow you will be able to access that 25% off of paperback and hardcover copies of Israelite, How to Know Your Identity Without Losing Your Savior. You can actually look over here at this QR code, and you can use that to get directly to the hardcover book if you would like to. A 25% off of paperback and hardcover of Israelite, How to Know Your Identity Without Losing Your Savior. Support the work, family. I pray that you be blessed. Family, may Yahuwah continue to keep us, enlarge and increase us, and put us towards the work of the high calling, okay? The high calling of his service. So as always, family, thank you so much for tuning in. Be resilient, and Yah bless.